so you want to own a casino. You picture the front doors opening, the lights flashing, a packed floor of slot machines, a line at the steakhouse, and money moving across the tables all night. You buy one big building, put games inside it, and collect the difference between what players bring in and what they take home. Sounds simple. It is not simple. A casino is one of the few businesses where the product is excitement, the inventory can disappear in seconds, the building never sleeps, and the company that operates the casino may not even own the land under it. If you buy a casino, you are not really buying roulette wheels. You are buying a regulated machine for turning attention, hotel rooms, food, events, and probability into cash flow. And every part of that machine has a bill attached to it. First, the price of entry. There is a giant difference between buying a small regional casino business and trying to create a destination resort on the Las Vegas Strip. A regional property may be a casino with a hotel, a few restaurants, a parking garage, and a customer base that lives within driving distance. A major destination resort is a city block of hotel towers, convention space, theaters, restaurants, pools, security systems, data systems, gaming equipment, and thousands of employees. The purchase price is only the first number. You also need enough capital to renovate rooms, replace machines, maintain kitchens, market to guests, fund working capital, and satisfy the regulators who decide whether you are fit to hold a gaming license. For scale, Steve Wynn's Mirage opened in Las Vegas on November 22, 1989, after a reported construction cost of about $630 million. At the time, it was an extraordinary bet, a 3,000-plus room resort with an indoor tropical theme, an erupting volcano out front, and a level of spectacle that Las Vegas had not financed at that scale before. A number that was shocking in 1989 is not a useful ceiling today. Modern destination resorts can require several billions of dollars to build because construction, land, labor, systems, and design all cost more. And because a casino now competes as a hotel, restaurant district, events venue, and social media backdrop at the same time. But a cheaper property is not automatically a bargain. Imagine two casino buildings offered for sale. One sits beside a busy highway, has a clean gaming license history, recently renovated rooms, strong local loyalty, and parking that customers can reach without thinking. The other is cheaper because its roof, HVAC systems, elevators, room inventory, and slot floor are old, its customer base has drifted elsewhere, and its license renewal or debt structure needs attention. The second seller may call that a discount. You may be buying deferred maintenance. That is the industry phrase for work that should have been paid for years ago but was postponed. It is still real work. It simply becomes your work the day after closing. And you cannot approach the transaction like an ordinary real estate flip. In a regulated gaming market, the buyer, major investors, executives, and sometimes key financing parties can face detailed suitability reviews. The license is permission to operate a gaming business under a specific jurisdiction's rules. It is not a decorative certificate that comes with the building. Regulators care about the source of funds, the people in control, internal controls, compliance history, and whether the operator can run the property safely. A casino acquisition can therefore take longer and cost more than a buyer expects, even before a single carpet is replaced. Then there is ownership structure. The public often assumes a casino company owns the casino building, the land, the hotel, and the operating business in one neat box. That is sometimes true, but it is not always true. In recent years, several large U.S. casino companies have separated real estate from operations. A real estate investment trust, or REIT, can own the land and buildings. The casino operator leases the property, runs the hotel and gaming floor, pays employees, markets the resort, and keeps the operating result after lease obligations and expenses. A REIT is simply a company designed to own income-producing real estate and distribute much of its taxable income under the rules that apply to it. In plain English, one company can own the walls while another company tries to make the walls earn. That split changes what you are buying. If you buy the operating company, you may gain the brand, customer database, workforce, gaming license rights, restaurant operations, and the right to earn the business's revenue. But you may also inherit a large fixed rent obligation. Fixed means it does not politely shrink just because a bad month arrives. If tourism falls, table game volume weakens, or a convention cancels, the hotel operator still has payroll, utilities, insurance, debt service, and often lease rent. A casino can look busy and still be under pressure because the cost structure was designed for a stronger year. The Mirage transaction shows how material that structure can be. MGM Resorts sold the Mirage operations to an affiliate of Seminole Hard Rock in December 2022 for $1.075 billion in cash, subject to customary adjustments. The transaction also removed Mirage from MGM's master lease arrangement with VSI Properties. MGM disclosed that the amendment reduced annual cash rent by $90 million. Read that again. The sale price was one number. The annual rent removed from MGM's obligations was another number. In a casino deal, the building, the operator, and the rent can be three different stories. You also inherit contracts: hotel management agreements, union agreements, technology contracts, restaurant leases, supplier commitments, entertainment bookings, loyalty program obligations, credit policies, and maintenance agreements all have terms. Some are valuable because they keep a famous restaurant, an experienced workforce, or a convention customer attached to the property. Some are expensive because they lock you into prices or responsibilities negotiated in a different economic climate. A casino is full of contracts because it is not one business. It is a stack of businesses sharing a lobby. Now let us talk about how the money actually flows. The first layer is gaming revenue, often called casino win. Casino win is not the same as all the money players put at risk. At a slot machine, the handle is the total amount wagered through the machines. At table games, drop is generally the amount of cash and markers exchanged for chips at the tables, with measurement conventions that vary by operator and game. Win is what remains for the casino after payouts. It is the gross gaming revenue before ordinary operating costs. A giant handle can make headlines, but handle is not profit. It is activity. MGM's Las Vegas Strip resorts reported approximately $23.84 billion of slot handle in 2024 and about $2.24 billion of slot win, a win percentage of 9.4%. It reported table games drop of about $6.03 billion and table games win of about $1.47 billion, a 24.4% win percentage. Those are aggregated figures for MGM's Strip resort segment, not a promise that every machine, every table, or every night produces the same result. The point is the difference between money moving through the games and money retained by the house. A casino can process tens of billions of dollars of play while keeping a far smaller percentage as gaming revenue. Here is a simple illustration. Suppose a small bank of slot machines processes $1 million in wagers over a period, and the realized hold is 9%. The casino's gross win from that play would be $90,000, not $1 million. From that $90,000 come gaming taxes, machine leases, or participation fees where applicable, promotions, labor, utilities, security, compliance, repair, and the cost of keeping the property attractive enough for the player to return. The $90,000 is the top of a smaller waterfall. It is not money you can put in your pocket. The next layer is rooms. This is where many people misunderstand the casino business. You might think the hotel exists to make hotel revenue, and the casino exists to make gambling revenue. In an integrated resort, the hotel room can be a lever that brings the right guest onto the property at the right time. A room may be sold at a high rate on a convention weekend, discounted to a loyalty customer, or even comped. Comped means provided without a direct room charge, because the operator expects the guest's overall spending to justify it. The room is not necessarily free. It is part of the cost of acquiring and retaining a customer. For its Las Vegas Strip resorts in 2024, MGM reported 94% occupancy, an average daily rate of $260, and revenue per available room, or RevPAR, of $245. Average daily rate is what occupied rooms sold for on average. RevPAR combines price and occupancy. It is the average room revenue for every room available, whether filled or empty. If a 1,000-room hotel is 94% occupied at a $260 average daily rate, a simplified one-night room revenue calculation is 940 occupied rooms times $260, or $244, 400. That resembles the $245 RevPAR logic. But rooms are only one layer. The guest may also eat, attend a show, use a spa, rent meeting space, shop, and play games. That is the counterintuitive detail. The casino floor is not always the entire engine. A high-value guest may arrive because of a concert, a trade show, a restaurant reservation, a sports event, or a room offer. The resort's job is to keep that guest inside its ecosystem long enough for several revenue streams to interact. You are not really selling a hotel bed or a blackjack seat. You are selling a contained visit where every extra hour creates another chance to spend. Food and beverage is another layer, but it is not automatically a money fountain. Buffets, bars, celebrity chef restaurants, coffee shops, banquet kitchens, room service, and nightclubs all require inventory, staff, refrigeration, cleaning, licensing, and constant execution. Some are directly profitable. Some exist partly because they make the resort more attractive, support group business, or keep a guest from walking across the street. MGM reported $2.36 billion of food and beverage revenue in its Las Vegas Strip Resort segment for 2024. That figure demonstrates the scale of non-gaming business, not a claim that all food revenue has the same margin as gaming. Entertainment, retail, parking, resort fees, meetings, conventions, and sponsorships add more layers. In 2024, MGM's Las Vegas Strip Resort segment reported $1.34 billion in entertainment, retail, and other revenue. A sold-out arena event can create room demand. A convention can fill midweek nights that leisure travelers might not. A restaurant can make the property feel alive. A loyalty program can identify which guests should receive an offer. Each line supports the others. That is why an integrated resort is expensive to run. It needs many moving parts to create the value of one visit. Now the other side of the ledger. A casino operates every hour, which means labor is not a small footnote. Dealers, slot attendants, surveillance teams, hotel housekeepers, front desk staff, chefs, servers, maintenance crews, engineers, security officers, accountants, compliance employees, marketers, technology staff, and managers all have to be scheduled. In MGM's Las Vegas Strip Resort segment, payroll-related expenses were about $2.64 billion in 2024. Gaming taxes were about $233 million. Cost of sales was about $537 million. Other segment items were about $2.30 billion, including items such as corporate allocations, service provider costs, promotional expense, and other costs disclosed by the company. Those are segment-level figures, but they make the point clearly. A property can generate an enormous amount of revenue and still require billions to keep operating. There are also invisible expenses that feel very visible when they fail. Casino surveillance cannot blink. Cash handling systems need controls. Slot machines need software and service. Kitchens need inspections. Pools need maintenance. Hotel rooms need renovation cycles. Carpets wear out. Elevators age. Air conditioning systems in the Nevada heat are not optional. A casino is an unusually physical digital business. Its technology, payments, security, hotel systems, and loyalty data are modern, but the revenue still depends on a building that must be clean, cool, safe, and open. The trap is confusing casino win, occupancy, or EBITDA with the cash that truly belongs to the owner. EBITDA means earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Operators often use adjusted versions of this metric because it helps compare day-to-day performance before financing and non-cash accounting effects. It can be useful, but it is not a pile of cash you can spend. It excludes interest on debt. It excludes the economic reality that buildings, rooms, systems, and machines wear out and must be renewed. It may exclude rent in a way that differs between presentations. A 94% occupancy rate also does not tell you whether rooms were sold at profitable rates, whether guests were comped heavily, or whether the rest of the resort made enough to cover its obligations. This is why a full casino floor can be deceptive. A crowd tells you there is demand. It does not tell you the promotional cost of attracting that crowd, the amount the casino returned to players, the labor cost of serving them, or whether the building's debt and rent were priced for an even bigger crowd. Position is worth more than space. A modest property with loyal local customers, manageable rent, modern systems, and a clean balance sheet can be healthier than a glittering resort whose costs require every weekend to be perfect. The modern destination resort logic has a real historical source. Steve Wynn did not invent gambling in Las Vegas, but his Mirage project helped demonstrate a major shift in how a casino could be designed and financed. The Mirage opened in 1989 as a luxury destination experience rather than simply a gambling hall with rooms attached. The volcano, the atrium, the animal habitat that later became controversial and was closed years afterward, and the scale of the hotel were designed to make the building itself an attraction. The documented business choice was to spend heavily on a resort that could draw tourists who were looking for an experience before they ever reached a table. The financing logic mattered just as much as the design. The Mirage was funded in significant part with high-yield bonds, often called junk bonds. That term sounds insulting, but it simply refers to bonds rated below investment grade and therefore carrying higher interest costs to compensate lenders for higher perceived risk. The idea was bold. Borrow heavily to build a spectacle, use the spectacle to draw visitors, and use those visits to support the debt. It worked well enough to influence the mega-resort era. But it also revealed the permanent danger of casinos. When you use fixed financing to build a business whose revenue depends on discretionary travel and consumer confidence, you are making a bet on the future before the doors open. The structural risk is that a casino cannot easily shrink when demand disappears. The clearest recent industry-wide event was the COVID-19 shutdown in 2020. Casino floors, hotels, restaurants, shows, and conventions were abruptly restricted or closed in many jurisdictions. A resort's costs did not vanish at the same speed as its customers. Debt still existed. Buildings still required security and maintenance. Employees and contractors faced disruption. A property built around constant foot traffic learned how vulnerable it was to a world in which people could not gather indoors. The cascade is easy to describe and brutal to manage. Fewer visitors mean fewer occupied rooms. Fewer occupied rooms mean fewer restaurant covers, fewer convention receipts, less retail traffic, and fewer guests walking through the casino floor. Lower gaming volume can reduce Wynn, but the hotel, security, technology, and real estate costs do not all fall in proportion. Promotional offers become harder to justify because the guest may not arrive. If a company has fixed lease rent or interest payments, the decline travels straight toward the balance sheet. A casino's revenue streams are diversified, but they are often diversified around the same person being physically present. The Mirage is a useful real case study because its story runs from spectacular opening to a complete repositioning. In 1986, Wynn's Golden Nugget organization bought the future Mirage site. The resort opened on November 22, 1989, with a reported $630 million total cost. It signaled that a Las Vegas property could make the building's theatrical identity part of the economic product. Visitors did not just choose a location near gambling. They chose the Mirage as an attraction. The success of that model changed the company around it. Wynn's business was renamed Mirage Resorts after the project, and the company added other major Las Vegas properties over the following years. In May 2000, MGM Grand Inc. agreed to acquire Mirage Resorts in a transaction valued at about $4.4 billion, creating MGM Mirage. The figure matters because it shows how a casino company's value can be larger than any one tower. The buyer was acquiring brands, locations, operations, customer relationships, development potential, and a portfolio that had helped define a new version of Las Vegas. Then the economics changed again. The Mirage became part of a larger corporate system, and the corporate system later separated property ownership from many operating responsibilities. In December 2022, MGM completed the sale of Mirage operations to Hard Rock for $1.075 billion. MGM's disclosed master lease amendment reduced annual cash rent by $90 million. The same physical location could therefore be viewed in several ways over time. A $630 million construction bet in 1989, one ingredient in a $4.4 billion corporate acquisition in 2000, and a $1.075 billion operating business sale in 2022 with a major rent consequence for the seller. Hard Rock then closed the Mirage in July 2024 for redevelopment, ending the original resort's operating run. That does not mean the location stopped being valuable. It means the owner believed the future value of a redesigned property justified taking a revenue-producing resort offline and spending again. This is the casino cycle in miniature. The asset is never merely a building. It is a promise that the next version of the experience will attract enough future guests to pay for today's disruption. The bigger disruption is not just pandemics or one competitor across the street, it is the shift in how people choose entertainment. Online gaming, mobile sports betting were legal, streaming entertainment, social media, changing work patterns, rising travel costs, and different expectations about food and nightlife all compete for the same discretionary dollar. A casino used to rely heavily on physical scarcity. There were only so many legal gaming locations, only so many hotel rooms on the Strip, and only so many places to see a certain show. Digital alternatives do not replace the full resort visit, but they make the customer's attention less scarce. Survivors adapt by becoming less dependent on a single game or a single kind of visitor. They invest in hotel rooms that justify higher rates, meetings and convention space that stabilizes weekdays, restaurants and entertainment that create reasons to visit, mobile tools that make loyalty offers more targeted, and sports or live events that turn a property into a calendar destination. They also watch capital spending carefully. MGM reported 2024 Las Vegas Strip Resort's capital expenditures of roughly $597 million. That is a reminder that even after a resort is built, the spending never really ends. You renew the product, or the product becomes yesterday's attraction. There is another disruption hidden inside that adaptation: data. Casinos have long used loyalty programs to learn who visits, what they spend, and what offers cause them to return. The modern version is more precise, but it has to work within privacy rules, gaming rules, cybersecurity obligations, and the basic fact that a customer can decide an offer feels cheap or annoying. A useful loyalty program is not a magic wand. It is a system for deciding where a promotional dollar might produce a profitable visit. If you give a guest a free room, discounted food, show tickets, and gaming credits, the correct question is not whether the offer filled a room. The question is whether the total incremental revenue exceeded the total incremental cost after expected gaming payouts and service costs. That is customer acquisition and casino language. Credit is another place where the glamour can hide a risk. Some casinos extend credit to qualified customers, often called a marker. A marker is essentially a written promise to repay gambling funds under the rules that apply in that jurisdiction. It can help a high-value guest transact smoothly, but it creates collection risk and compliance work. If the guest does not pay, the casino does not get to wave a wand and declare the revenue safe. It has to follow its credit controls, pursue collection where appropriate, and recognize that a headline win figure can contain amounts that are not yet cash in the bank. And even the games themselves contain a management challenge. The theoretical hold on a slot machine is the long-run percentage the game is designed to retain before certain adjustments. Actual hold over a short period can differ because people do not play in perfectly smooth averages. A table game can have a particularly lucky or unlucky run. A VIP customer can create a large swing. That is why management looks at volumes, holds, play patterns, and the mix of customers over time rather than declaring victory after one busy weekend. The house advantage is a long-run mathematical edge. It does not protect you from a bad month, a poor marketing decision, or a building that needs a $20 million repair. The final complication is reputational. A casino has to convince guests that the games are properly controlled, the rooms are clean, the food is safe, the money is handled securely, and the property is not an uncomfortable place to bring a spouse, a client, or a convention. One compliance failure, data incident, safety failure, or public dispute can turn into fewer visitors long before it appears neatly in an income statement. That is why the serious owner spends on surveillance, internal audit, training, responsible gaming programs, cybersecurity, and maintenance, even when those costs do not produce an exciting advertisement. Trust is not a side expense. In a business asking people to hand over money for an experience built on chance, trust is part of the product. So imagine the two futures of owning a casino. In the optimistic scenario, your property sits in a good location, your license and compliance operation are strong, your rooms are current, your loyalty program fills slower nights, your restaurants and events bring in visitors who would not come only to gamble, and your balance sheet can handle renovation without panic. Gaming, rooms, food, entertainment, and conventions reinforce each other. You do not need every guest to gamble heavily because the total visit produces several streams of revenue. In the realistic bad year scenario, travel softens, consumers cut discretionary spending, a key convention leaves town, room rates fall, promotions become more expensive, labor and utilities remain high, a renovation cannot be delayed, and fixed debt or rent keeps coming due. The casino still has lights and noise. It may still look full at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. But the revenue mix is weaker, the customer acquisition cost is higher, and the real question is whether the property produces enough cash after every obligation, not whether somebody just hit a jackpot. That is the whole reframe. You thought you wanted to own a casino because the games make money. But the real business is owning the visit, the room, the meal, the show, the confidence, the attention, and the reason a customer stays one more hour inside your walls.